Guide your kids like the banks of a river guiding the flow, not like a dam stopping the flow. This is one of my one-liners, and I love it so much. And one of the things that's beautiful about it is it acknowledges that parents are guides. One of the most beautiful and profound opportunities we have. I almost said roles, but I don't want to think of it as a role because that's too formal. But opportunity that we have is to guide our kids. And, when I post about not forcing your kids, not giving them consequences, not holding authority, people always say, oh, but we're the adult with the frontal lobe this and the brain development that and the experience this and that, and the kids don't have the impulse control this and that. So, but the conclusion that they draw is, therefore, we have to use coercion and we have to use limits and we have to use consequences and we have to control them. But that's not really guiding, is it? That's not really teaching deep values and sharing a deep understanding of life and empowering them to have, a skill set that will help them through life and all the challenges of life. That's not really doing that. People say they're preparing them for the real world, but they're not really doing that. Real guidance doesn't feel bad. Real guidance feels good to the system. Real guidance feels natural. It feels empowering. Does your guidance feel empowering to your kid? This is an important question to ask yourself. I ask myself that all the time. And when I notice that my guidance isn't feeling good to my kid, I stop and I reflect and I shift something because it's so important. That's why I say guide your kids like the banks of a river, guiding the flow. The banks of the river, in some ways, literally define the river, but not coercively. It's not like a dam stops the flow. The dam also affects the river, but if we want to have a really deep guiding relationship with our kids, if we want them to embrace our guidance, then we have to do it like the banks of a river. Recently, I was went to a baseball game with my wife and my kid and her partner, and the four of us were at the baseball game. And at one point, they bought a big thing of popcorn, and I got a little tray, and I was going to pour some of the popcorn out, and it was really full to the top, so we knew it was going to spill everywhere, and so I put the popcorn on my lap, and I kind of made a little funnel with my hands, and I poured it in so it wouldn't spill. And I got most of it in the tray. Some of it fell out, but I got most of it in the tray. And my kid was like, "Oh, that was very well done." I said, "Thank you." And so maybe 15 minutes later, I wanted some more popcorn, and I said, "Hey, would you pour it this time?" She said, "Sure." And she did almost the exact same thing. And I said, "Hey, that was a great system you used." She said, "Oh, I learned it by watching you." And in that moment, I thought, even just how I'm pouring popcorn, she's watching. And if it makes sense to her, she learns from it. She didn't do it exactly the same. She kind of made her own version of it. But in her head, she doesn't have a resistance to learning from me because my guidance hasn't felt like a dam to her stopping the flow. It's part of her. It feels empowering. It feels uplifting. It feels enlivening. It feels like it's validating who she is. It's never been about tearing her down. Even unintentionally, we do that to our kids, because we think we know better. And on every parenting post out there, even the most positive ones, almost, you'll see some mention of you have to set boundaries because it's so hard to let go of that authority and the control. Even on people who are stretching. I want us to stretch more into non-coercion, more into not forcing our kids, so that our guidance feels so good to their nervous system. If you want to set a boundary or a limit with your kid and they disagree and they don't like it, don't just be satisfied with, oh, I'll empathize with their feelings. No. I forgive me for saying this, but I hate that. I wish that wasn't propagated, the loving limits thing. I wish that wasn't propagated in the parenting world because it's so damaging to the parent-child relationship. It does not feel like the banks of a river when you do that to your kids. It doesn't. And it's way harder to do the other. It's so much easier to just go poof, and then it's hard not to get what you want. I understand. I validate your opinion. I validate your feelings. It's so much easier to do that. It's actually not easier in the long run. It's not easier relationally. It's not easier on our own hearts because you have to harden your heart a little bit to do that. But it's so much more beautiful and connecting and loving to open your heart and guide like the banks of a river without any of that stuff. And then what we do is we get in the flow with our kids, and then it becomes it's a whole different way of relating to them. It's a whole different way of parenting. It's not gentle. It's not like traditional parenting done more gently at that point. So I want to encourage you when you're thinking about how you guide your kids. Are you doing it like the banks of a river? Are you doing it in a way that feels empowering and feels good to their nervous system? Or do they feel an imposition? Do they feel being like they're being overpowered or being controlled in some way? Are they resisting? As soon as my kid resists, I would immediately change direction, no matter what it was. I do not push into the resistance because I know how damaging it is to the relationship. And it's a big commitment to do that. It's a big mindset shift. But I know you can do it. I know the people watching me, I know you're dedicated to this, right? It's never going to be perfect. You make a mistake, forgive yourself for it, and try again. Just keep trying again and again and again on repeat for like 30 years or whatever, and you'll get it. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Please follow me on all the spaces at Meaningful Ideas on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. And also, I have a free course called Guiding Without Controlling that I think you really love, and you can find that at meaningfulideas.com. And that's it. Peace out, everyone.